freedom, yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. No more bribery, my mama let me know. No more slavery, my mama let me know. My God created me where I should be. My God created me and gave me all the things I need. Who are you to stop me from being who I am? Who are you? Who are you to take away what I have? Who are you to stop me from being who I am? Who are you? Who are you to take away what I have? Freedom, 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 yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. I can say, yeah, I deserve the right to say, I cannot stay a second class citizen in my mamaland. You can say, yeah, you deserve the right to say, do you want to stay a second class citizen in my mamaland? Must no longer be my love. I'll be okay, free and proud with my love. Freedom, 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 yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. Freedom, 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 yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. Chichunanga, chichindanga, chichunanga, chichindanga, chichunanga, chichindanga, chichunanga, chichindanga. Nature when your child one, better than child, better than child, better than child. Chichunanga, chichindanga, chichunanga, chichindanga. Chichunanga, chichindanga, chichunanga, chichindanga. Nature when your child one, better than child, better than child, better than child. When you wait up, wait up, wait up, wait up, when you wait up, wait up, when you wait up, wait up. I'm gonna do it like I'm on belly. I'm the medicine, when you wait up, wait up, when you wait up, wait up, when you wait up, wait up, when you wait up. Dear viewers, we're starting soon. We apologize for the delay. Dr. John is having difficulty. He will join us in the process. Our guest tonight, as followed, Dr. Buchok from the University of Victoria and Dr. Phil from America. Will be joined as well by Dr. June Quack. Because of time, we are under pressure. And Dr. Philip will be going to, has got some other commitments after 1 hour. So we are not going to be very long. I will ask our guests to introduce themselves because they have got very long biographies. They have done a lot of studies and also a lot of work experience. In case if you need any document published by them, follow the links or contact Africa World Book. If you need the thesis, they are also available free for you to look into. And I thank them for having accepted our invitation of tonight's discussions. Dr. Bushok, welcome and thanks so much. Good morning, Marla. And Dr. Philip, good evenings in America. Welcome, Inchalor. Welcome, Salam Alaikum. So now it is your turn to briefly introduce yourself, then we'll start the program. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Brother Peter Lwal, for this opportunity, and also my. I would like also to thank Dr. Philip for the first time to meet on this social media, and whoever else who is going to join us, maybe Dr. Troll, and others, those who may be following the discussion. My name is Bichok Wankot. I am a lecturer at Victoria University. My area of study is sociology and philosophy, but I mainly look at the migrant experience and the changes in gender role of the migrant group of the Nuer who migrated to Australia, the challenges that they have been facing here, which is similar to all of those migrants from African background. The thesis is on the VU website. It's also online on Google Scholar, so it can be accessed there. Where I have not much published other article as such. There are few I've There are two reports, and in the other article about Sudanese sleep difficulty, psychological paper, which actually also published on Saga publication, along with the other colleague together. Plus a report on uh, on the new experience in South Sudan, Juba, Ethiopia, Gambela, and Australia, and also some of them then in UK. So I also was a part of that research, and the report is also ready. It is online, which actually is reported to the Australian embassy, Australian government through Australian embassy in Addis Ababa. Currently, as I said, I'm teaching sociological units and also youth work. But importantly, I'm also involved in and a coordinator of applied human rights in Victoria University. So that is all about me. Now I live in Melbourne. The work experience a little bit. I am by nationality. I'm Ethiopian, Nuer Ethiopian. Uh, uh, so I work under Mengistu regime. I was one of the official in Gambela who actually received and also organized and support the SPLA since it started with the Nyanya 2 and then the SPLA in 1983 until the end of Ethiopian government of Mengistu Haile Mariam. I was part of that government. And then I contribute my part to support the South Sudanese people. That is my experience, work experience before I came here to Australia, uh, and I'm happy really to be part of this discussion and answer any question that may relate to my area of research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very, very interesting because some of the people might have not know that you were involved from the starting of the movement, but I'm aware of it, and sometimes I'm wondering of what age were you by then. Anyway, Dr. Phil, welcome. No, we're running behind time, so thank you. Dr.
Uh,
Philip, can you hear me?
are you guys able to hearing me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I was driving and I'm still driving right now. So just give me a few minutes until I find a place to park.
Yep.
Uh, if you can.
Okay. Dr. Butchok, we will start with the question while Dr. John is on the way. Uh, in South Sudan, some people may think that the cattle raidings issue among our people in the regions of Jonglei started recently, but it goes back. Even when Dr. Wall was doing his PhD, there were in one of the page here in about 1983, the elders were talking about the same issue and having in blaming the government that the government is not supporting them, and that always uh, gave a room whether the government is involved or not. So, could you please, like during the last few days, there had been this issue of rumors the Luer are going to attack the Murle are going to attack the Luer, the Dinkas are going to attack the Murle are going to attack uh, the Dinkas, and it is something related to cattle wrestling. So when did it start, and what are the motive? What really motivated? Why are those communities very much involved in such practice? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. I think the cattle rustlers is not a new phenomenon. Goes back long history. This Southern Sudanese, it has aggravated recently in Jonglei State, but actually it is a problem for the whole of Southern Sudan because the Dinka community also who live in Bargazal and in other states, they experience the same problem. The Nuer who also live in another, for example, in Unity State, in Lake State, and also in Upper Nile State, and even in Ethiopia side, they have been going through this situation, similar to that of Morley. So I think in the 18th centuries and 19th centuries, this 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 issue existed, cattle wrestling, because our people, especially these tribes, the Nilotic tribes, their economic background depend on cattle. The cattle are their main wealth, the wealth they use uh, for for marriage or for bride, the wealth for use for any sort of living. So uh, therefore, cattle restless, goes back long history, 18th, 19th century, and that time it was very small, and actually they used local 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 weapon, local spears, those sort of things. But it was peaceful, not 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 at the level of hatred in that particular period of time. And the wrestling, cattle wrestling at that time, I think the main issue was the grazing uh, time, because our people, they follow season. When the dry season comes, they follow where they can get cattle grasses, and where cattle can get grasses. Therefore, their migration from place to place depend on that, and that actually caused a little bit of conflict and clashes. I think that's the main issue. For example, between Dinka and Nuer, uh, maybe with morally a little bit different, because Dinka and Nuer, they follow that seasonal move, and then when that seasonal move occur, they mix up, and also they departed into certain extent, but the life mixed up. So therefore, they exchange these cattle situation. Therefore, the cattle wrestling, it was a small violence by then, not too much violence. It's something that actually resettle used to resettle at the local level with the local chiefs and with local community. Uh, but recently, that became a big issue, because I think it has been aggravated with the insecurity in South Sudan. Because the insecurity in South Sudan also, mind you, it's occurred since 1956, and that problem cause or exacerbate the insecurity, the food security, the situation of the peaceful settlement of the people, and migrating from place, displacement within the country. That's caused more complexity in regard to cattle wrestling. With the current situation, where it become serious issue, for example, in Jonglei State, and also mainly in Upper Nile State, between between Dinka and the Morale. It's actually it's become a big issue, because these small arms already proliferated in the hands of civilians. People are armed, At this stage now they are categorized as white army, which was not there in the 18th centuries and 19th centuries. So now they become militant, and the local laws they become loose as such. I think that's what actually exacerbate. I've seen a number of research has been done, which some of them claim put argue that it is the issue has been exacerbated because of cattle being commercialized, because of marriage, which are really good. They are good points. But actually, marriage, for example, in Dinka and Nuer, long ago, before even this time in the 18th century, they actually married with a lot of money, with a lot of cattle. But still, the cattle raiding was not so much violent like this, like the current situation. I think the bigger problem is the arms in the hands of civilization of civilians. That's the main problem. That's the answer I can give now for that.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Philip can
Dr.
give more.
Dr. Philip, are you ready now?
I am ready. It's just that the quality of the video will
Yeah,
be
that's
really
fine.
bad. And,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
I
Introduce yourself, and I think you answered the same question. I think you were with us. Yeah. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Lual, Dr. Buchuk. It's my pleasure to welcome you. Um, my name is Philip Tormanyok. I live here in the state of Minnesota.
Uh,
Yeah, the
the,
voice is cutting,
your
cut.
voice is cutting.
All right. Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be horrible. I'm trying to pull into a quick trip here.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
that would help. So bear with me. So I'm
Okay.
from South Sudan, and like I say, I live here in the United States of America. In terms of my background, I come from a multidisciplinary background. I have undergrad in political science and a master in international relations and conflict resolutions. I and then my doctorate is in conflicts analysis and resolutions. That's a little bit about uh, my background. I did research. My dissertation was on the issue of cattle rustlings in Jonglei State, and that encompasses the three communities that we are actually uh, discussing today. Uh, that is Dingabur, uh, the Nuers, and the Murale. So I am a little bit familiar with the topic, and I'm glad that we are actually talking on this very issue today. It's an issue that is affecting uh, the development. It's taking away life, and so it is an issue of concern to both communities in our villages, in town, and also among uh, people like us who consider ourselves academics or scholars. So, um, thank you, Lal, for giving out this time to talk about this very issue.
Yeah.
Um, I would,
I know you are under pressure of going somewhere and having some other commitments, and I apologize for any inconvenience. Because you are familiar with the topic, briefly tell us what are the motivational factors behind the cattle wrestling in the state of Jonglei and among the three communities, and the solutions. What can people do to save life and in your research? Has it been used by the state government in Jonglei? Do they have access to? And if you were to be the governor today of that state, you see you have already invested time and resources in your studies of investigating the cause. Uh, Tell us what caused it and what are the solutions. Thank you.
all right. Thank you once again. It's always good to talk about an issue by first talking of historical context of the problem, of
Yeah,
which,
move closer to your mobile. Yeah, thank you.
okay, it's very important sometimes to talk about an issue
Yeah,
when you address historical context of the problem, and that's mean going back to the same thing that Dr. Bishop uh, touched upon, the issue of historical context. By far, the Nuers and the Dinka have lived together for over a century, and that goes all the way back to the time of Wundangs and those days, where both of the communities share in fighting against uh, the invaders. So there are times where both communities have uh, cooperated, and there are times where there have been issues between the two communities. The same thing with the Murle and the Dinka. The same thing with the Nuer and the Dinka. So historically, we have been peaceful neighbors, and what had happened along the way had many people concerned. When I did my research, I came across few things that I believe are important as to motivating factors in the conflict. Number one is the erosion of cultures. It's a major thing in a way that when back in the days, it was the role of the community's leaders, the elders, the spiritual leaders, to instruct the youth on how to conduct themselves, on how to engage the other communities. And so, if there were to be uh, a conflict between communities, that conflict has to be sanctioned, has to be approved by elders. In some cases, if the spiritual leader objected to such conflict, then that conflict will not occur. That aspect of our culture has eroded because of the contemporary issues related to either civilizations or the two civil wars that have happened in our country. So that's number one. So when youth of today decided to do something as far as uh, attacking other communities, they have a wide range of latitude to operate without being uh, told by the community elders. So that's number one. Number two, which Dr. Bishop already touched upon, is the issue of firearm. And the issue of firearm had made it uh, possible for the youth to carry out large number of attacks with serious fatality. Because anytime weapons are used, the intensity and the frequency of the conflicts become deadly. So, with more firearms available in the hands of people, people are taking advantage of the firearm and use them to carry out attacks. The other issue that has come up during my research is the issue of uh, revenge. By far, most conflicts today that are being fought between the Nuers and the Murle, or even sometimes between the Nuers and the Dinka, sometimes does not really mean people going in to get cattle. It is an issue of revenge, whereby if one community attack one another community, then people die in the process. The people that lost their loved one and who, of course, without people being held accountable by the government or by any authority, they take the matter into their own hand for revenge for the loss of their loved one. And so you will find situations whereby uh, people from Bor will go to Murle and conduct some raids and sometimes come back with no cattle. And the same thing, if they go there and attack Murle, Murle are going to come back to Bor. Or if the Nuer go to uh, Murle land and attack, Murle are going to go back to Bang for their loves. So this revenge created a cycle of violence whereby if one community goes, the other community come back. This is the most pressing issue that if we are to talk of solution to the modern problem of cattle rustling in Jonglei and as well as in other part of the South Sudan, then people have to find a way on how to break the cycle of violence being perpetuated by the demand and the desire for people to avenge or revenge. This is the current situation we are in right now. So, what can be done to break the cycle of this violence is what needs to be addressed. The other factor that I will talk about is the government itself, the central government itself in South Sudan. It's a complete failure in a way that they are not keeping order. It's the responsibility of the government to keep order. And if the government is not able to protect its citizens, then it's very difficult for peace and security to be kept and maintained. So, uh, government has a role to play, or for its lack of responsibility, it contributed to youth acting without being held accountable. Now, to make my my answer to your question brief, and maybe to give Dr. Bishop to chime in here, if we are serious about uh, security and peace among the communities, then we have to start with uh, sensitizing people, educating people about coexistence. No matter how violent people get, no how many hostility we show toward each other, we know that we will always remain one people and we will always be living together in the same neighborhood. So if we are to live together, then we have to accept each other. And that would come through education. The people like us has to take a leadership role, an educational role to provide people with necessary knowledge that we are one people. Instead of us getting so involved in social media, advocating on our own behalf or on our own ethnic line, advocating that we are being treated by the Nuers or the Dinka or the Muslim, we should be the one that take that role. So personal responsibility has to come into play. The government has a role to play, and then of course development itself has to be given a priority. I figured out during my research that if in 2005 when peace came to South Sudan, if the government of Jonglei, the help of the government of South Sudan, have built schools for people in Boomer and in the other areas in that region, by now a kid that was uh, 1 year in 2005, that kid today is 15 years old. So think about it. If we would have educated those kids since the inception of independent South Sudan, we would have created a peace-loving generation in that region. The same thing uh, in our area. The same thing in Nuer. We would have educated different uh, generation that understand the meaning of peaceful coexistence. But what had happened is we have given that up. And so if there were like 10,000 youth and people that would have been educated, today they would have been thinking of where to go to high school, where to go to college. The same thing in Bo, the same thing in Nuer area. But that has not been done. So that I see it as a priority to educate people. Change the mindset. A generation is changed through ideas. The reason that the SPLM, SPLA succeeded was they taught people different way of thinking about the problem of, and so people became accustomed to it. They accepted it and they understand the importance of it. So education has to be given a priority. That's the second point. Third, there has to be a grassroots effort. The current processes that have been tried in Jonglei in dealing with the issue of cattle has been disarmament. Of course, disarmament itself has been a disaster in a way that the way it was conducted, people were never sensitized, people were never educated that the goals of the government was reduce unnecessary availability of weapons in the hands of the civilians. Yes, uh, people need to have some kind of firearms because if the government is not able to provide security, then everybody's going to need to have a self line of defense. But when the issue of disarmament was instituted, it was instituted in a way that some people saw it as a political engineered attempt to take power away from certain group of people while leaving other group of people with a firearm. That's why there was a resistance of for disarmament in some areas. So disarmament too need to be communicated to people. That way, when the police or military or whoever is collecting the gun, when they come, then those guns actually would be found collected by the community leaders because if the community leaders understood that safety of their citizen is being guaranteed by the state, then they will be willing to get the firearm collected and give them to the government. The other thing that I think might be part of the solution is in itself development. You know, a person in a village when independence came to South Sudan, many people believe and expectation of the people were so high that development will just come like that. There are no signs of development in most part of the region, especially Jonglei, which left me wonder. It's possible. There was a story that was told in 2008 that in Buma area, that a village person asked one of the soldiers, but where Garang was, where Dr. Garang was. And this was in 2008. So the guy said Garang died. And the guy said, when did he die? Like 3 years ago. So, which made me wonder, and it begged the question. Maybe some people living in South Sudan who don't have direct access to people don't even understand that there is an independence that has come to the region. So, if the government is not taking that initiative to tell people, hey, peace has come, then people might be still thinking the old days where there was no uh, a country to be called country of your own, where there was no government. So it goes back to the same issue of getting information out. The government has to go out and tell people, hey, peace has come to those distant areas where communications is not available. That needs to be given priority. Development, school, then the issue of cattle. If cattle, which is actually one of the most valuable livestock among the three communities, and I would say probably among most Nilotic people that keep cattle, cow is the most sacred thing. Wow. And if it has become a center of our life, then we have to find a way to make use of it. Instead of raiding cattle, then the government itself has to come up with ways to create a market, a credible market, whereby if people have to get cattle, they would have to get them through the market, which means the agriculture department, the Ministry of Agriculture, must have to invest in animal medicine, in how to improve the quality of milk, the quality of meat itself, and of course, the ability of cattle to breed. That's what would increase, the amount of milk, the frequency of which uh, cattle breed. By frequency, I'm not saying that if we can reduce gestation period to whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying in the Western world, there have been places where if you want to have two cows, then you have to find a way to make that cow produce two calves at the same time. That's what I mean by frequency. So those has to come with development in terms of investment in agriculture, especially the husbandry area of cow uh, raising. That has to be given a priority. It also would mean that less cow would die. And if less cow die, then that means there will be enough cattle to be bred. Which means if you want to have more cows, then you would have to breed them. That has to be given a priority because given the current situation of the environmental changes that are happening, for some of us that have been home frequently, we understand climate is changing so rapidly. And if we don't invest in climate adaptation program, respect on how we raise cattle and how we, farm, the issue of cattle will not be the only issue that we'll be discussing. In about 10 years, if we have not invested in technology, in ways that improve crop farming and animal raising, maybe in 10 years from now, we will be talking of people going to other person farms and cut down their dura, their sorghum, because of the climate that is changing so rapidly. So investment in areas of agriculture has to be given a priority uh, by all people
But
in the.
Dr. Philip, let me just intervene. Like the idea of taking town to the people, which I asked Dr. Bishop earlier. It is stated in the books, The Power of Creative Reasoning, authored by Dr. Lowell. How possible is it for, I do agree with you during the agrarian revolutions, food was given a priority, which should have been done by the South Sudanese government when they had their independence. Because now we all depend on import from other countries. Could that be because of the insecurity? Because you cannot cultivate, without fear of being killed. And also, can you tell us? It is not only about, you talk of the revenge, but children are being abducted. So what is the factor? What do they do with the children? Abduction.
Yeah, the the issue of abducting children is children and women are collateral damage that happen with respect to the youth, and they are part of the revenge too. Because if I come to your house, Mr. Lawal, and snatch your kid from your arm at night, and you wake up tomorrow, you don't know where your kid is. Your brothers and you would try to find your kid, and if you don't find it, then what you will do is grab another kid, because it's a cycle of revenge. There have been myths about uh, uh, people talking that the issue that people from Pibor or the Murle, the issue they take it is that they can have kid of their own. That has been, it's a myth. It has been told, and many people somehow seem to believe it, but that itself is a myth. There's no evidence to it. There's no research done about it to find out that the reason Murle take it is that they cannot have children. Well, if that is the reason, then why Nuer and Dinka take it and we have the ability uh, to to raise our kid? Why do we go sometime to Murle area and take it? So the issue of taking kid because Murle cannot have kid of their
No,
own.
I
Maybe I
think
can, can
I disagree with you. Let
maybe,
me shock it to be in there.
maybe I can add something on to that point.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, uh, I will go back to the taking the development to the people, the
Yeah.
concept. I think this concept from Dr. John, uh, it's meant to actually take the development from the town to the people.
Yeah.
Build a school, as Nyok been talking about, provide proper and adequate health care, and actually maintain food security to make the peasants and the people to be sufficiently uh, independent in their own lives, so that the services that are only surrounded or only limited in the center of the cities are adequately spread around the country to the people. I think that was the main concept. And that actually, if it would have been uh, followed and implemented with this spirit, I think even the problem that we are talking about would have not been there as such, would have been resolved. But what happened? Uh, Dr. Philip talked before about criticizing the government of South Sudan. I agree with him 100%. The South Sudan actually carry blames here because government has been weak So taking the development to the people with the eyes of the current politicians in Southern Sudan, it's actually it's mean creating positions for politicians. It's
Yes.
mean promoting corruption because the money and the resources that are allocated to the people and as part of taking the development to the people actually being corrupted and taken away by these politicians, those who actually seek position. So it's mean now when you miss out, you are not appointed to the position that you want, you actually go back into that to the people and create an army, and create an opposition, a pressure group that can actually allow you to go back, that can influence the government for you to be put back into position. This is what it means now, which actually become contrary to the whole concept of Dr. John Garang. So generally, the government is actually has to be blamed here. There has to be a change and the process of taking the development into the people. Uh, government has to be a little bit has to show the capability, like disarmament, and like also addressing the important policies that may address these social problems. But with the conflict that occur now in South Sudan, it's likely this situation will continue unless there is a really imaginable change that may occur within the situation that we are seeing. Unless this is spirit of taking the development of the town or development to the people is taken as it was proposed, as it was presented, the whole concept, the problem will continue. In regard to children abduction, we you see this become a serious issue mainly between Nuer and Morale, between Morale and Dinka. Actually, between Dinka and Nuer, occasionally it might occur, or maybe it had occurred some time back, but actually not tradition of these two tribes. Tradition does not allow people to be abducted in tradition. What exists is that uh, a little bit assimilation through through service provision. That's actually that you can see maybe they are Nuer who became part of Dinka because they found a good life with their connection. Connection might be marriage connection, might be other part of other connection. There are a lot of Dinkas also on the other side of Nuer. They become part of that of the society. So this abduction, deliberately abducting children, is not a tradition, not exist as such in Nuer and Dinka. But now with Morale, it's actually become a practice, a serious practice. Maybe the issues that you just mentioned, that issue, Morale, they don't produce children, they don't do. I think if that is true, I don't know, it's not supported by the research, but actually, the vengeance that going on along attacking even attacking children from Morale is actually a form of revenge that you mentioned before. So unless I don't know really the main issue of tribal tradition of, of Morale, whether they have some sort of uh, masculinity to express masculinity in attacking another tribe and taking children. If that is the way of expressing the masculinity, youth masculinity, that actually we have a little bit of problem because it mainly seem to be it is the morally now actually targeting small children in this area and then revenge. For example, I heard yesterday or the day before yesterday that the Morale attack low when an attack Morale now they have brought a lot of children and cattle. These include children from Anuak, children from Nuer, children from Dinka who were taken long time ago by Morley, sort of revenge. So I think the best thing to resolve all these problems is a peace, and how to maintain this peace and provide services and take the development to the community is actually a change within the governance system in Southern Sudan, a system which can actually use the resources, natural resources, the resources of South Sudan onto the people, onto to services, building schools, building clinics, and and actually training a proper security unit that can produce or that can protect and maintain the security at the area. These are the points that I want
Yeah,
to highlight.
with regard to taking town to the people, it has been misunderstood by many.
Yeah.
But according to these books, it is well
Mm,
explained, even the cause
mm,
and what should have been done. Grant used to say it based on the book here. It is time for payback. We are aware that we have had war for a very long time, and a lot of civilians have suffered. So the proposal was that the payam to be 10,000, about 1,000 payam,
mm,
and with the budget of about 25 millions allocated to make resource centers
mm,
whereby they will have an agricultural complex, health centers, school, court administration within the payams,
mm,
such that this is the cost. But I supply about 700 copies of these books to South Sudan in around 2012
mm,
or 2013. But the problem with our people, they don't read, and that's what it is said. If you want to keep something away from the black person, put it in the book. This book would have really helped because everything is already outlined, and that was the intention of Dr. John Garang in 180 days. So that back up what you and Dr. Philip said, because development, when people start living in Kakuma, they used to fight between
mm.
the group. And after they reach class 8, so those issues of fighting because of girls,
Yeah,
they
it
don't-
disappeared. Mm,
you know, so education is a powerful tool. And so it needs an effort from us as individuals, community leaders, and our government should play a role because our insecurity is not allowing development, because what the joint benefits do consider all the time is the security and how often the government change and the policies. Now we expect investors to go. It is not possible because of this kind of struggling we've seen everywhere.
mm,
So a few days ago, we had the same talk, and in Tony, there are issues of cattle wrestling, people fighting over land, revenge. So I know that Dr. Philip is going to start something in the next few minutes, and I will give him a chance.
mm.
Then we will come back to you, Dr. Buchok.
Yeah.
Uh, so, Dr. Philip, we apologize if we have hold you back for a while, but it is really very beneficial. But to our dear viewers, please get these books. It's very important. These books, it has got all the ideas of Dr. John Garang's. Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Val and Dr. Bishop. Yes, let me add one angle that I think might help. To some of us that have read a little bit about Sudan conflict history, and especially in southern part of the country, when we talk of uh, intergroup conflict, the solution is always the people, not the government. Number one solution is always the people, not the government. Why do I say that? During the 1990, 1991, the only thing that brought the Nuer and the Dinka together, especially the one in the village, was the church. The role of the church should not be discounted when we talk of peace, because it's the same people that are in the community that are members of the church. As a matter of fact, church is the most diverse institutions apart from a school, because we know government of South Sudan is not diverse by any means. That is a different story for a different day. Church has a role to play here. You might have heard of UNLEAD conference. UNLEAD conference, that dialogue, the church was the one that is spearheaded.
mm,
The World Council of Churches, our local churches in Unity State, in uh, in Bargazal, which is now especially Werap, and in Jonglei. It brought together the village, the paramount chiefs, the youth leaders, the mothers, and the church leaders. What came out of that conference was a real peace. Was a real peace. It had held for over more than 10 years. The peace between Mayom County and part of Werrap, part of Jonglei, that peace held together for over 10 years, because it was made possible because the people that um, agreed, people understood the value of people who are there. So it's also a time for the church to do the same thing again here. Reach out for the church, the bishops and the priests, to reach out to people, the community leaders, both in Murle area, in Bor area, and uh, primarily in Unity State, and part of uh, part of Eastern uh, uh, Unity State
mm.
that
Uh,
are bordering.
let me remind you, Dr. Philip, you talk of the church and our churches have contributed to the conflict. I think Yao Yao, if I could remember, it was David Yao Yao was like, is a theologian. He was studying a diploma in theology.
in theology.
Yeah, yeah, I got your point, but
And
we have.
a lot of people died as a result of how he struggled, something which was led by David Yao Yao, and that gave me no faith in the churches, because churches as well, you know, the bishops' positions are become like political motivated.
Mm,
Uh, there is always also breakdown among the churches. Yeah, I agree with you, but also it is good to let them know David Yahya was meant to be a man who could bring peace and development. But guess what? He ended up fighting. He became a big boy from Kakuma. Now sitting with Salva Kiir, you know. So this issue of power, I think it will make it very hard for the church to talk about, because if people like Yao Yao were trained to be priests, end up to be a general who fought for thinking that he's going to liberate his people, but after
mm.
he was appointed, he just went there to Juba and enjoy.
Yeah, it's a point. It's a point well taken. Power corrupts in any way. It corrupts in the church. It corrupts in politics. As it is true, very true. As of today, there are politicians that put their own interests first.
mm,
Yes.
And then there are a few individuals that put the interests of the people first.
mm,
So in any discussion, there's going to be selfish people,
yeah,
there's going to be selfless people, and knowing that, uh, I'm very sure back then the church was corrupted when that peace was being advocated. But sometimes the voices of reason, if the voices of reasons are heard loudly,
mm,
peace prevail, stability prevail. And so we should not be discouraged knowing that there is so much power, angry people in South Sudan. But we should also be motivated, to find those individuals, a few
Big
individuals,
boys, huh? Big boys are there.
uh,
mm,
yeah, to find those few individuals that might have a voice of reasoning. And maybe with the help of God, we might have another opportunity for peace to prevail. That's one aspect. The last point I will make is, because I'm going to go to work very
yeah,
soon,
yeah,
is if that church uh, avenue doesn't really amount to anything, then let have a people to people peace. By that
mm,
I mean the
mm,
paramount chiefs. There is a respectable elder in Nuer community that if he says this, the youth will listen to him.
yeah,
The same thing in our area in Bor. The same thing in Murle. There's always an elder that if that elder is approached with a message of peace, he or she would go to his people or her people and tell them, okay, we need peace. Our neighbors has come with a message of peace. And this is where I think somebody has to introduce somebody to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm very sure there are people in our villages, in Nuer, in Bor, in Murle, that are willing to tell the youth, put down your gun and stop fighting. But the person that initiated that process is what is missing. And so, how can we initiate the process where we reach out to the paramount chiefs, uh, the elders in our communities, for them to be able to talk to you and then lead a movement that would bring about peace between the three tribes? One other aspect too that we can resolve this is because we had to look into each other. Like Dr. Bishuka said, between the Nuers and the Dinka, we have been living together peacefully for almost uh, as much as we can remember.
yeah,
The issue of cattle, children is not a big problem between these two communities. So if these two communities, form a unified front, then that can be also another way of sending a message to people that have vested interest in this conflict, because there are people that have vested interest in this conflict, to see the region the way it is. As much as Jonglei, and it's not only Jonglei, as much as the Alpha Nile is restless, then somebody is taking a political advantage of the situation in Jonglei or in Alpha Nile.
mm,
So it should be also something that people in Alpha Nile have to understand. If we have to have a share of the current development, the current peace dividend in the Republic of South Sudan, then we have to find a way to make peace with ourselves.
mm,
Because if we live peaceful together, the rest of the country will listen to us. But if we don't, then today it will be me, tomorrow it will be somebody from Unity State,
mm,
it's going to be somebody from another part of the Upper Nile, while somebody is taking advantage of our situation. So it, it might be heard or seen by some people as a political message. But it's also a time for reawakening for people of Upper Nile to understand that if politics is being used to divide our people with respect to that rustling, then we have to think twice, because there are the report that there are a few individuals that have vested interest, in this issue of cattle rustling. So that using it, these are the people that we were talking earlier as, uh, power corrupt individuals. But then why would we let somebody take our situation and use it as a weapon
mm,
while we know we can resolve ourselves? So for those who are interested to see Sudan in peace, or South Sudan, the real peace will come when the whole Upper Nile region reunify. It will resolve the issue of cattle rustling, and it will resolve other political issues. Of
mm,
course, it might be a topic for a different day, but today we are focusing on the issue of cattle rustling. But it's something that people have to think about. They are all interconnected. It's a long chain of events, and people have to start waking up and see peace with respect to cattle rustling is also evolving into a political problem. So before it evolves into a political problem, it is very important that we recognize it and resolve it. Because if it becomes a political as well as a socio-economic issue, then we will be the most affected people in Alpha Nile as a whole. It will not only be in Jonglei or State or other part of the people already, as it has been already designated. Who knows why was it designated to begin with as a different area in
mm.
uh, in Jonglei? But it's a topic for a different day. But
Yeah, thank you
uh,
so much. Yeah. The Dinka and the Lower, if you had to go back to creations, they are from one mother. And what made me laugh sometime in Louis and books plus Kim Gale books, these books, well
Mm.
researched. The conflict goes back to a matter of cows. So there is a special connection between this Nilotic group with the cow. So it has to be investigated actually. But we thank you so much, Dr. Philip, for the time. But I think it is good that you have also met Dr. Butchok. And we apologize, Dr. John could not make it, but we will bring him back anytime this week or next week. And we will continue to discuss more. So we will give you time to go while Dr. Butchok will enlighten us on few other things. So thanks so much.
all right, thank you, Mr. Lual. Dr. Bishop, nice to
Thanks so
meet
much.
you.
Thanks so much.
Uh,
Thanks.
we will try
Good
to
to have you here.
join
Thank you.
on the web. It's 10:30 p.m. here.
All right, right. Thanks.
Uh, Say, continue the discussion.
All right.
All right, bye, bye.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yep. So we will come back to that soon.
Apologize, my brother, my sister. The one you got number one in the room in the YouTube. Balloon Benzo. And you will boom, go will boom, go will boom, go will boom. Hey, but you're a little. And you will boom, 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 boom. But you're a little. Where I come, will be there, my yakum. Now that the song is in you. Go and sell my thing, my yakin. I've been waiting. Kau kai bare winjaku winji yang macari tangu na benga song winji nu winji yang macari kabinwe kau kai bare everything in the pandan kira jeda belangen we bakiro min kan jinda ya yo wotya iba yen mutan jinda ya yo wotya jinda ya yo wotya.
Yeah. Welcome back, Dr. Bushok. That was.
All right. I think
Uh,
it went well. So I think the issues that actually Dr. Philip has done a very good research on this regard.
Now, Dr. Bishop,
Mm.
Dr. Philip, based on his research, said
Mm.
that it's a revenge.
Yeah.
Do you agree with him? And if that is the case, what can we do?
Well, the revenge, the revenge is there. I think what we can do is actually we need to engage the communities through dialogue, and that has to be done in conjunction with the disarmament together. Because unless these communities are disarmed, this revenge will not stop. Uh, the revenge mostly now is between Morale, Dinka, Morale, and the Nuer. So if the Morale situation is not contained properly, that means they will still, because look at, when you look at the geographical
Yeah,
location of the area, you can ask why these people move from here, travel long distance, and actually attack and abduct children and cattle and this and other community. Abducting cattle or cattle raiding as is totally different from abducting children because with our communities, daytime we release the cattle to go to the
yeah,
bush for,
yeah,
for grass for whatever. And then it's happened that they are in the bush, Morley, for example, they can take cattle from there. But coming home and abducting children is a different issue. So I think this actually South Sudan has to take this very seriously, and also the communities have because sometimes it became international when Law Nuer revenge on Morley last year or 2 years, the United Nations involved in it
yeah.
that Morley has been wiped out or something like that. But it was a revenge. So to stop revenge, the perpetrator has to be stopped. That is the issue. Uh, the person to stop this, it is the government of South Sudan.
And how is the government going to solve it? And I think, based on what I saw with some of the general being promoted because of either whether I call it, I don't know.
Mm.
There is a motivational factor because some of the people in the areas are using numbers to gain to get into power. Because if they
Mhm.
become threat and the government give them award them with the position, then what will prevent other people to do it, do the same thing such that they get into power? So I think also the issue of child abduction need to be investigated and see whether what do people do with the children, and if the slave trade is still existing, then it is something that need to be taken into international court of laws because abducting child and sell it to get cows, that is also a motivational factor
That's
because
right.
children are abducted.
Mm.
Why? What is the motive? So
That,
I
that,
do
that,
agree with you. Yeah,
that's the real thing. I don't know. We don't know. I don't actually know the motive behind abducting children by Morley. I don't know this. But the real issue is that, as you said, if it's not resolved locally, then it has to go to international arbitration
yeah,
because, yes, this is now become politics. You can see those youth who are actually mobilized to go and abduct kids. They another time they are soldiers. They are soldiers of certain commanders,
yes,
and that is the problem. If South Sudan actually try maintain, uh, and I think the bigger problem now is this this conflict. If this peace become materialized, and the national army unite to be one, anybody with armed group who actually outside this national army, the South Sudan army can deal with it properly, and therefore the disarmament can go smoothly, and then the armed activities can reduce. But if this unification of the army as part of the peace process, if not, then and hasn't materialized, there will still be fraction of this armed group, and the arm will still goes into certain group, those who will use the arm for robbery or for abducting kids. So that's a problem. I think international community, as a process of the peace implementation in South Sudan, they also have to involve hardly to provide resources to help South Sudan unify the army, actually quickly process the peace process. That's I think that's the only way, because those of politicians, once they missed out in the central government,
Yeah,
they go to the region and they try to create a pressure armed group to,
yeah.
to pressure the government so that they can be recognized and given position. This will not end unless this army become really an army which put the country first.
But
The,
like the army are not paid at some stage, and that might have also contributed to ammunition being sold locally.
yeah,
So there are a lot of factors, and
yeah,
I think our government need to do something.
yeah,
The development cannot come
mm,
without security.
yeah.
People need to be secure while farming, while going to school to teach, while sleeping in the villages. So there must be a security, and it has to be given a priority.
That's right.
Uh, Kuchok, we thank you again. You were part of the conference that we had
Yes,
in on the 5th of October last year. After the conference, we were requested by the Department of Youth Justice such that you go and present the same topic to them. It is really good. So we are glad for the work that you have been doing for the community. Um, what is your message of encouraging our communities who are now wondering of whether the current peace agreed and now are now in Juba? We don't know the future, whether it is going to last. But to me, it is not going to last.
mm,
So what can we do to make sure that it, it to keep it alive? It is very brittle, very fragile, and what we saw is not what people were fighting for.
mm,
There is no reformation,
that's right.
like interest. So I'm not breaking you there, but can you give us a message of hope because you are an elder? You supported Dr. John Grang and other people during the liberation struggle, and since then you never thought of going to South Sudan to be part of those people who are now harvesting. Why?
Uh, that's good. Actually, my advice would be that during the liberation movement, South Sudan, they were together. They lived together. In a refugee camp, all these tribes, whether Dinka, Morley, or whoever, they all live together in refugee camp. I have refugees in Itang, in Pinyudu. Okay, they
Yeah.
live together as one people, and there was no problem as such. Yes, during the movement, there was certain conflict, which actually occur in any moment, in any place when the revolution is taking place. So now it is a time that South Sudanese they have to think for the future of children, for the future of the nation. So these politicians, now South Sudan is a rich country, has a lot of resources, and the population is small. If you take the ratio of resources really with the population, each and every one would have got something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem is the management, is the leadership. I think uh, the South Sudan leaders they have to they have to leave the personal interest if they want the country to be a country. They want to pass a history. pass a country to the generation that will build, they have to abandon personal interest and join up together as one people and work for the development of the nation. Otherwise, we, as you have said, yes, we don't see that's coming because of the issues that been occurred. The peace have been tried several times. The country is going like falling apart. But with these little bit of these few days, there is some sort of hope that if it's continued this way, maybe this peace may actually yield a certain something that may be good. Otherwise, it would be really important for the people and the army itself, the people who are involved in this war and the conflict, and the army itself, to actually think twice with these politicians, the leaders. People have to establish their own their own base and their places, so that the politicians do not use them for their personal gain, and that will force politicians to follow the interests of the people, including the army. If the army act as an army of the nation, not as the army of individual, then there will be no any politician mobilizing the army to be his own army, or this tribal army. So my advice is that the Nuer, the Dinka, the other tribes, they have to leave tribal sentiment out of the political situation in South Sudan. So they have to unite as Southern Sudanese. If there is this mentality and this sort of considering someone as a human being, as a Southern Sudanese, then this conflict actually will end up and will go away. Resources, there's no problem. As I said, South Sudan is a very rich country. It's a
Yeah,
matter of management.
I
And if
do agree with you
management
with
is good,
the
then
idea of
no
the
problem.
idea of taking town to the rural people again based on the power of creative reasonings.
Mm,
There was a proposal that it would have been done within the first 180 days.
mm,
And how to do it? The Ghost government should Garang become the president of Southern Sudan by then.
mm,
There was an assumption that the total number of Payam to be about 1,000 Payam,
mm,
and each that includes Abiy Nuba and Punji, and
mm,
also like the goal was to make a contribution of 250,000. They call it Jami starting.
mm,
Jami starting a satellite micro micro scheme was supposed to be 10,000 television satellite and satellite dish, and halls was supposed to be 5,000, and a solar system set for about 40,000. That is US dollar.
mm,
Hand operating power farm about 10,000. Brick making
mm,
machine for 15,000. Primary
mm,
health care facility for 50,000. 4 classroom building for 50,000. There is a best BSAT about 10,000.
mm,
Administration block for 30,000. Agricultural complex for 30,000. That add up to 25 millions. What Garang meant was to taking town to the people is to make services available
mm,
uh, within the reach of the people. And 25 millions, how much money have we really misused? Even these 25 millions have gone into individual pocket. And now ordinary South Sudanese are left. They continue to suffer in the hand of their sons and daughters' government. So that make me to agree with you because we need to rise beyond tribal boundaries, and because government come and go. All right,
mm, mm.
you were with Magisto Ilmariam.
Mm.
Your regime fell. You were
Yes,
lucky in
it's
Australia.
on. Yes,
How about those who were left in the country?
yeah,
Where
that's
are
right.
they now?
mm,
So I always remind people of the impact of the bad governance,
mm,
because those people are always become the victim.
mm,
As ordinary person living in the interior, remote area like my village,
mm.
what I need to be mindful of, who is next to me. My
Yes,
neighbor very important than someone in Juba. All
that's
right.
right. That's right.
So there is more need of education whereby our people need to rise beyond tribal boundaries. We
That's
have
right.
we got a lot of resources, but what do people? How do they use them? There
Yes.
are no health facilities.
Mm,
So you're calling for peace. I think it's very, very important, and also people need to rise beyond tribal boundaries. Like some of my friends from the Luer, they used to say, "Hey, Borjana Chalak," and after some time, I told them it's not Borjana, it's Bor politician Chalak,
that's right.
because this politician, whether
Mm.
our brothers, uncle, they are different people.
Yes, they're different people. It doesn't mean that yes, there are.
So I change it like Bor politician Chalak.
Uh, for politicians, you are right because they don't even depend on. They don't even care much about those tribe or whatever. They think of what they are getting.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the politics. So we need to engage in. I think we need to engage in discussion. Even sometime you can try to also involve them
Yeah.
in South Sudan, those politicians, and actually engage them in discussion and hear their view and their thought. So this may motivate some of the individuals.
Now there is question that I asked earlier on. You were part of the movement, liberation struggle at a very young age,
Yes.
and supporting people when you were with Magisto
Hmm.
and after the comprehensive peace agreements, many people went back to South Sudan.
Yes.
Also, after people have acquired their education here, went back to South Sudan
Mm.
to go and have their share of a lion share.
Mm.
So, who is taking care of your share?
Uh, you mean when I go back? You mean when I
You
left?
should have gone back and reward yourself, because people are now going back fighting over the bread and you know a tablet.
Yes. You see, as you said, government come and goes. People actually should not stay, should not consider the government as the only source of life,
Yeah.
living, yeah, of the life. So you have to think of the government of taking the government position to serve the people, and then for a certain period of time, and then after that you serve yourself for a certain period of time. But how people back home, let's say not only South Sudan, is largely Africa in general, or maybe the whole developing world, where there's scarcity of resources and people actually using political posts as the main as the power to accumulate wealth and also to gain the power, economic power. So beside that, really, it's something that need to change. South Sudanese, okay, with the liberation experience, they passed through difficult situations. So the first 10 years, if they have snatched the resources, those who were big politicians, those who were at the liberation that time, and take some money into this, yeah, not a bad thing, because they have sacrificed for that, but it should not continue as something that goes along. It has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. Otherwise, that rich country that we say it is rich country will not continue to be rich country. Yeah. So, as you said, that time when we were in the government, I was still very young, very young. So, because I joined politics as young man, and then immediately after I finished secondary school, I was appointed to the ruling party as youth organizer, and then which are also part of organizing youth throughout the region. So that time, before I was appointed as the first secretary uh, in 1983, 82, I was youth organizer by then, where I actually, as part of the committee, security committee, we used to come down to organize issues that occurring between the locality and the SPLA, the organized committee in the whole of those where SPLA was moving. So the experience is that government goes, government come. Like now, we are now living a different life. Become an academy now, not not with the government anymore.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Academic, okay. I
You
think
know,
that the thing our people should understand.
I totally agree with you. You know, the late Bol Majong Adiang wrote in his books, The Wrong Camp.
Mm,
In politics, we don't know which camp is right and which camp is wrong, but that need someone to at least reason carefully and make decision
mm.
of which camp to join, because there are many wrong camps. If you read books more about the liberation struggle, it was very brutal, and we
Mm,
thank them as well. They have done a wonderful job.
mm.
The mindset has to change.
The
Now,
mindset has to
now
change.
you are teaching, helping a lot of people here,
Mm.
which is really very good because you don't think of politics or being an MP, being
Yeah,
general. So people need to explore what they are good at and invest time in.
that's
Because
right.
what's
Yeah,
failing our countries in Africa is power struggle, whereby
yeah.
a villager like myself from the bush
Mm,
wanted to go to Juba. Every day I'm waiting for people to elect me such that I go to Juba. Why
mm.
should I worry of going to Juba?
Juba, yes, right.
I have to even make charcoal and start selling them,
Mm,
supply the local areas with firewood. You know, during the raining season,
mm.
people use firewood, then
Yeah,
make living out of it. Within a year, you could be a millionaire. There are a
yeah,
lot of things that people need to
yeah.
invest time in. Uh, so there is a lot of teaching which need to be done by scholars like yourself.
Yeah.
Now we are about to finish
All right.
with the lockdown in
Mm,
Australia.
mm.
We are now delivering lectures online. What advice would you give to other parents who are struggling, whose English is their second language?
Oh
Uh,
yeah. That, mm,
especially our communities.
mm.
What can we do?
That's a
Uh,
very good point. Very
yeah.
good conclusion. We have been facing this problem throughout the world now. This anti-human coronavirus is a real issue. It's a real problem, and our people, I think, in some situation they undermine it. There were some rumors running around that's not attacking black people, that not attacking young people. This is actually not true. Not true. Our people, they need to understand that this is a problem. They need to listen to the instruction of the to the medical advice, instruction of the government, which based on the medical advice. Uh, People have to stay home. They have to stay home. So I have seen a number of information translated into a number of languages, including Dinka, including Nuer. So people, they have to try to access these languages online if they have difficulty of English. Otherwise, there is no one who have difficulty in English as such, because children also are there who actually understand the information that is being carried on. So our people here in Australia, they, like any other community in Australia, we are affected by this. Those who lost jobs, those who lost already resources. So it's affect. community at large. Therefore, if you look at America, our community is really highly affected. People are sick now who are affected by this coronavirus from state to state. Those who some Sudanese themselves. So it is a serious issue. We have to we have to comply with the advice from the government and from the medical team. And also we have to download this uh, app that the government is urging everyone to download so that we protect ourselves, because the app actually has certain features that will help you to actually identify whether you have been with someone who already affected by this virus. Uh, so it is good that to download that and comply with the advice from the government. That's the only thing that I think we need to do now. We need to reach out to our communities, even at the community, because there's no movement as such now. But this is the only thing that we can reach out to the community. I think this media, for example, we have to reach out to the community. Community has to listen, has to take this serious, take it seriously. And also, even those who pray, I heard that in Africa, we have to reach out to African, to our families, our friends in Africa. I heard that in Gabela, they refused. First time they refused to stop the church, going to the church and pray and one group as whole group that the God will take it away. Yes, we know that God is there, but you can pray God in your own house. You can help God with your life too. So it is good that we urge all our people also to communicate back the seriousness of this disease to places like Africa. We thank God maybe will not be higher like this, because African with the living situation in Africa, it's difficult. So now we have to manage that. That's my advice that I can give to our communities and community leaders here.
What about parents who are struggling, whose children are in primary school or secondary school and struggling with online studies, and undergraduate students? Like when we were at Victoria University, especially, sometimes there are sometimes that we don't sometimes do assignment on time,
Mm.
and there had always been a pressure, which is very stressful. How can young people manage their time in terms of plannings and submitting assignment on time? You have had a lot of experience, and we really thanks and acknowledge the warm hospitality that you gave us when Dr. Douglas and I visit, and Professor Wildy visit Victoria University. So, what advice can you give as we speak?
I think as we speak, it is a very difficult situation with the students. The learning and teaching has been uh, turned to online learning now. Uh, as we speak, I'm teaching online. With the higher education students, there's no much problem, because they can manage their time. They can also promote their self learn,
Yeah.
actually learn a lot. So with the children, especially primary school and small children at home, it is the hardest situation, because parents are the most expected to help their kids to do their studies online. So with our community, where parents are not well equipped with to use online, it's actually very difficult situation. However, now I think students are being supported. They can go to school and be separated with the social distancing, and can learn there at school. That's one of the options. Another option also, uh, with these young people, online is not a problem with them. The problem is monitoring,
Yeah.
controlling them. That because they sit in the house instead of wasting time on playing games or whatever on media or on online, it's good that parents monitor their children on the school time. They follow the school time and make sure kids are on their online program because teachers are online at this time. And then so the parents are the only power that will support teachers and will actually maintain make kids to be online on time. And when their time finish, they can take a rest and can enjoy other things. So this is the effort with parents that is needed to be undertaken. And it is not easy. It is not easy. We understand that. It is not easy. But we have to. Parents have to do that. Have to do that until the restriction is lifted. That's my
That
side.
was really very, very, very comprehensive, and I think it will help a lot of our struggling families. And in Western Australia, South Sudanese community are doing very well, and tonight we will host them.
Yeah,
They
good.
have home committees, and a group of volunteers are there to help the community. So it is our role as individual to assist as well. So we are honored to have you as our guest. I'm not a journalist. I'm just someone who is trying at least to provide whatever services to our community.
Yeah,
As you are aware, you and I we have been really going very well. When I was in Melbourne, you're a great mentor, and I really like the way that you have been, you know, giving hand out to people
yeah.
who are always in need. So thanks so much, Dr. Bishop.
Thanks, I
And
appreciate that.
uh,
I appreciate that. Thank
we
you.
may we may bring people like Dr. Santino and other few people in the future.
Yeah.
We will be hosting OSAS here to discuss book about South Sudan.
All right.
Now, uh, we are struggling. Even last night, I started yesterday at about 9 a.m.
Mm,
Came to the office, stay, and I went back to the house and I stay awake until 4. What I was trying to do is the place of origins. Let's say I'm from Dutchwick,
mm,
and sometimes we may count from one generation to the 12th one.
mm,
Then we don't even know who is the third, the fifth, and where we migrated from Ngok,
mm,
but we don't know whom we have left behind.
mm,
So I'm trying to navigate and also to let people work on their stories,
mm,
migration cultures, and you know. So now, the challenge that we are facing as a publication company, people are not
mm.
buying, and also our aging
Book.
generations who are well versed in
Mm,
languages and people stories and way of life are aging. So, what is your advice? Because children who are born in the refugees camp, let's say in Kakuma C 1992, don't know much about South Sudan, and we prepare them to be future leaders. And that's why Africa will come in to provide information for the benefit of such children. But parents are not embracing, not encouraging the children to know more about South Sudan. And if they don't know more about the liberation struggle that their parents took part of, they will not have a say in the future. They would think that they are foreign. They would think that their parents did not do anything in liberating that nation. And
mm,
unless it is documented, and also how the families end up in America, in Australia, in Europe. The Black American now, they are lost generation because they don't know their ancestors. You know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to make sure that these people remain connected
mm,
to their homeland. I'm trying also to make sure that service providers, who are dealing with them are familiar with the people cultures, like say the Upper Nile Provenance book. There is a book called the Apuk people, and few other books. So what is your message? Because our people are very busy on the social media in most cases,
Mm.
but not embracing the available material for the benefit of the families and the children. So what advice can you give? Just only in 2 minutes, then I will leave you because it has
All
been.
right. I think it is difficult. It is hard to inform the generation of the past. People need to engage with reading, with materials. Academics, those who are politicians, others who are working in different places, they have to work hard to document and all these experience they passed through and what they know before, and publish them in the way you have seen now. Those are the history. That's how
This
anybody.
is this is the time of Gwengmundeng, those time of Lualdeng. My great grandfather.
Yes,
So like this, do we need to remain like this? We
we,
need to change,
we need
but
to
we
change.
appreciate the
We need
effort
to
that they
change.
put in.
But the change will come
Yeah,
with knowledge of that.
yeah,
With reading that book, that's when the change will come now. With that knowledge, and then you think of what to come in the future.
yeah.
So people have to actually to engage in reading these materials, the books, and not only the books alone, even the others, history, video, those sort of things that actually look into the historical development and process of human being. Governing the Nuer, for example, that book. If those who are at home now and other places, they have to understand this. And if this knowledge is acquired, it can be modified and actually make it fit with the new development, new books, with the 21st century situation. Unless these people actually uh, equip themselves with this knowledge, with the knowledge of the past, otherwise the present and the future will not be actually developed, will not be framed the way that we incorporate our culture and our tradition and in the history that we pass through. So my advice would be that nowadays education is the most important. Become tools and actually educate in extent in anywhere. Education without those engaging in reading those books is nothing. So it is good that communities, individual organizations, advocacy groups, they actually uh, contribute or promote this reading or engagement culture, reading books, and 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 producing knowledge with the community in order to strengthen and develop the nation, the future nationalities of our community in the future. So I would encourage and I would really thanks the African World Book. This is a great contribution to our contribution. I can tell you, to our communities at large, to our community political change, our community economic and development change, cultural change. This World Book actually has a great contribution, and therefore people have to use this book, buy this book, read this book, so that they also promote the work of this company, so that it is established even in Africa, and engage that. So I can only encourage you that uh, plan to also extend this to Juba, so that people, those who is deemed to be politicians, also read from the and engage in this reading. I was happy when those of Dr. John Guy came here and launched the book. It was good. It
Yeah.
was good. That actually will encourage a lot of people to publish and also read the book now, reading online and also buying hard copies and promoting the company. This is the most important thing. So I think that's an advice I can give with the generation that's coming up. Is a generation of education, and education, without this material, there's no education. There's no education. So people have to engage with this. At the
You, you,
school now, our
you
community.
see when this boy wrote book while in the detentions in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Book Adut.
Yeah.
So
What is
it's
it?
very good for the parent as well. It's in
Yeah.
detention.
Mm,
He managed to try to publish a book. The
mm,
same thing to this man.
mm,
He wrote this book while in detention.
mm.
See? And
Definitely.
that
Mm.
was part of the conference that we had in
We,
Melbourne.
we had in Melbourne. Yeah. Mm,
What what is missing?
mm,
So it is a great advice and also word of encouragement because like what kept me going
mm,
uh, is when seeing people like Lual Chine, the late Lual Chine.
mm.
Lual Chine died a few years
Yeah.
ago.
Mm,
This dictionary, the Tong Nazi, he made it available for the young people.
mm.
And for those who want to go and be commissioners in the lower land, you should
Yes.
this dictionary.
They
There
should
is
use
there is a
that.
dictionary, and actually this man is dead. But what he left behind is a legacy.
Mm. That's
Uh,
right.
there is also actually dictionary here
Mm, mm.
for those actually speakers.
Wow.
Our community, they're doing very wonderful. You
Yes.
see, so what is not there is the reading culture.
Is the
I
reading culture. That's actually communities here, the form of community, they have to have, those who actually attempt to have office, they have to have a reading center where they can buy this book and put them there for kids, for generation, for people to read them.
You see,
Mm.
Dr. Sarah wrote this book.
Yes.
Dr. Sarah, she's a Kawaja,
Yeah.
but she wrote this book to advocate
Mm.
for our people and young people who are struggling to settle in Australia.
Mm.
But our people are not even buying it.
That's right.
You know,
That's the issue. That's the issue. We
so
have to promote. We have to struggle to promote this culture of engaging with reading of books. Mm.
Uh, and if you have someone, what is the idea of South Sudan? They don't know. But it is in the books of those of Dr. John Gayor,
Mm.
War Talk and the Peace Talk by Stephen Farquhar, the current peace
Yes.
ambassador, the peace minister.
Yes.
This is by
Mm.
Professor Takpin. This is done in war who died a few years ago
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
He left his
Yes.
legacy.
Yes. Mm.
So we encourage our people to at least, this
Mm.
is Professor Denga Call George from Rumbeg University.
Mm.
This is Professor Denga Call from Rumbeg University as well.
Mm.
This is by Professor Mamer Awosh. Mamer is about 74 now, but he
Mm.
managed to document this for the benefit of people.
Yeah.
So this is Professor Madol Malek, the Apuk people, for
Mm.
anthropologists and those who want to learn cultures of the Apuk people. This
Mm.
is a good book for them, even the way they used to worship their God before missionaries. You see,
Mm.
these are very good, you know.
A lot of books. Yeah.
So
A lot of
anyway,
books.
thanks so much.
Mm.
God bless you, Randit. You know,
Thanks.
we
Thanks.
are blessed
Thanks
to
a
have
lot.
a very humble, very friendly person like yourself, and
Mm.
we will welcome you again anytime. Please feel free, even if you want to come and
Yeah.
discuss certain topic. This is your community.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
good. That's
you are
good.
the people to guide us. So thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
You're
Thanks.
welcome. Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Okay.
Mm. Mm.
Dear viewers, it has been very interactive discussion. This is Peter Deng again from Africa World Book. We are finishing. So it was about the cattle wrestling in Jonglei State. Uh, Dr. John missed out, but we will bring him back anytime this week to come and have a say about the psychological effect on the people in Jonglei State. If you need books about South Sudan, This is Peter Dengel from Africa World Community Education and the acting chief of Twitch community in Western in Australia. So I'm a traditional chief. I'm trying to be jack of all trades and trying everything here and there. So contact me if you want anything to do with about the culture and the people culture history of South Sudan. So we do publication. There are books written by different authors. So please, we are available here 24/7 as well. If you are in America, we are able to supply America within just only 3 5 working days. In Australia, the same thing. In the US and Canada, Europe, and also even South Sudan, places like Kenya. We thank those who have been supporting us by obtaining book through Africa World Book online website, and those who have also placed their orders. And we were happy that they got their books on time. So please, during this coronavirus time, invest your time wisely and take care of yourself and your family. We shall overcome the coronavirus matters. It is a matter of time, and our governments are doing very well, especially the Australian government. They have done their best to support, and the same thing to community associations and whoever is involved to help. So you are very much appreciated, and you will go into record. We shall be writing book anytime in the future about coronavirus and who does what. So please stay tuned. We are coming back at 7:30 will be host. We shall host John Akwada Achek, the chairperson of South Sudan Community in Western Australia, Mahmoud Pal, the youth director of the South Sudan Community in Western Australia, and Rose, the spokesperson of the Health Committee in Western Australia, and also she's one of the executive person in the community association. They will update the community later on the changes within the state. So thanks so much and bye for now. Uh, Thank you.